Ladies and gentlemen, we are about a week away from the new DLC, assumingly, so obviously it's that time of the year again where everyone starts to panic and needs to start making some money. I'm gonna make this short and sweet because there's really not much to say about it other than the fact that the usual, as some might be to expected. First and foremost, check your vehicles and your garages for them, because typically there is one or two vehicles in there that are worth quite a bit of money, but you don't actually tend to be using that much more anymore. For example, the price right and the podium vehicles, if you got that one and you stored it in your garage and then forgot about it, you probably still have your old version of it if you have duplicates. That meaning that you will have vehicles in your garage ready to sell and make a heap of money on. Obviously, you don't want to sell the price right or the podium vehicle because they will not be worth anything unless you have decided to upgrade them at some point. Next up is an easy $500,000 in total for doing 3 different missions. The first mission you want to do is housekeeping, which will give you $100,000. The second one is cashing out, which will give you $200,000. And last but not least is a casino work mission for an additional $200,000, making that a total of $500,000. In order to do some casino work, all you have to do is call up Miss Baker. For the housekeeping and cashing out missions, you will either have to find a friend or someone who's hosting either those missions, or you can host them yourself by having a casino penthouse. If it's worth investing into the casino penthouse, not particularly for these bonuses. It's a nice thing to have, but definitely keep your money for something bigger and brighter, such as a Kasatka, of course, so you can do the Kai Perico heist. Obviously, the main thing to focus on if you are someone who is looking to make a lot of money, and a lot of money very quickly. $1 million to $1.5 million for every hour or so. And trust me, when you get better at the heist, you can even bring that down closer to 50 or 45 minutes. If you need help with the Kai Perico heist, of course, check out the eye on the top right of your screen for all the guides that I have done on it. And yes, in case you are wondering, if you have the money for it, the Kasaka is definitely worth purchasing. It's $2.2 million, but within a heist or two, you will already have made that money back. So definitely worth purchasing if you don't own it just yet, not only for this DLC and preparing for that, but even beyond that, and basically having a money printer floating in the ocean, because that literally is what the Kasaka is. Aside from that, if you don't have the money for a Kasaka just yet, you have 2 options here. This week there is diamonds inside of the casino, especially for those folks who have been coughing up money for GTA Plus. There's a guaranteed for that loot to be there. If you happen to have a friend where you can do this with, the best way to go about this is have both of you do the setups and then do each other's finales back to back. Always make sure to stick to 2 players, because even though you don't get the full loot, in the end you will get more money. Having said this, there is not really any sort of necessity of only going for diamonds, as there is not that much of a difference in between the pieces of loot except for cash. So an easy way of making sure you don't get cash is by canceling the heist while you're inside of the casino and then making your way back to your arcade again and then starting the heist yet again. This way the loot will change and you might have an opportunity of getting either gold, art, or diamonds. But if you're someone who doesn't have either of these things and does happen to have an agency, you can also do the payphone missions. The payphone missions will be paying you double this week, which will give you a total of $170,000 for completing each one of them. However, there is a 20-minute cooldown on them, but there is a cheeky way of getting around to this, by simply just quitting the game and restarting it again. You can do all this stuff in invite-only sessions, so make sure to do so you can actually complete them in peace. And if you're someone who doesn't have any of this stuff whatsoever, no businesses, nothing, I think there is really a pretty decent way of making some cash in Gerald Last Play missions. They're not the greatest, they're not going to make you the most amount of money very quickly, but it can be pretty decent. If you're someone who likes racing, double cash NRP on open wheel races is pretty good. Don't buy a F1 car for it just yet, because honestly, it's kind of the only place where you're going to be using the open wheel cars in, so it's not really worth the investment. But aside from that, maybe you can even use the comment section down below. Maybe there are some folks who are looking for some fellow partners to team up with and get some money together. Maybe you might even meet a new friend for a while. Who knows? The comment section on YouTube can be both a toxic wasteland or also a wholesome experience, depending on what video you're watching. And last but not least, how much money would you probably have to aim for? Now, because the leaks so far are indicating that there should not be a property or a business to purchase, for this reason, this kind of drops the necessity of having a heap of money quite significantly. Normally, a business will cost you about $5 million, but this time around, that won't be necessary. So my recommendation in terms of how much money you need is kind of come down to your personal preference. How quickly do you want to get these vehicles? Do you want to buy them instantly on day one? Then you're going to have to cough up $1 to $2 million for sports cars and other vehicles, and $2 to $3 million for supercars. So you're looking at a $1 to $3 million kind of ballpark per vehicle. And this is obviously without the trade prices. So if you're clever about it, wait until launch day and come around with about $5 to $10 million, see what's available, then see what the trade prices are, and then try to go for those trade price offers. Typically, the requirements for these trade prices are not very difficult. And obviously, I will be uploading a guide for them in case they require a little bit more effort. So make sure to subscribe to the channel for much more coverage of the DLC and much more coming to you very soon. Thank you also very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed or found it useful. And if you really like what you see on the channel, make sure to become a member like Chloe and Robert. Thank you again for watching. Have fun making as much money as you possibly can until then. And I'll see you all later.